Seasons of Love. Welcome back, Seasons of Love fam. This scene looks a little different than what you're used to, I know. These are called the sidebars. And what is the Seasons of Love sidebar? Well, these are like, you know how when you were in school and you would get in trouble, get your knuckles popped by your teacher. It's like, hey, we don't want sidebar conversations or private conversations that you're having off to the side. That's exactly what these are. These are the conversations that's not necessarily being had in the larger context of our society. Things that are important to people that look like you and me. And so the sidebar conversation is about building family, building relationship, and building yourself into the best version, the best that God has for you to be and for you to experience. That's what the sidebars are about. Now, is this religious? Absolutely not. See the Christmas tree behind me? Yes, we will be singing Christmas songs in a couple of weeks. You stay tuned for that show. But no, this is just a feel-good conversation. We're going to talk about some hard things sometimes, but ultimately, we want you to feel inspired. We want you to feel hopeful. We want you to be able to take some tools back to your own personal lived experience and make the kind of change that improves not just your family, not just your community, but you. There's hope for you. There's hope for your relationships, and there is hope for your outcomes too. And so that's what the Seasons of Love sidebar is all about. Now, today, you are in for a special treat. Well, I'm going to call it a special treat because these two people that are joining me today are super, super special to me. This is my dad, Robert Kelly. Say hi, Daddy.
Hello, everyone.
And this is my brother, Ortegas Jackson, but I call him Ricky. Say hi, Rick.
Hey, hello, everyone.
And so today we have a really interesting conversation for you. This is my, like I said, this is my brother. We share the same father, but we have different mothers. And he loves my mom too. I had the opportunity to meet his mom a couple of times before she left the earth, and she was a beautiful woman, a beautiful human who raised an amazing son. But one of the things that I think is important to talk about in the Black community is how it's always said in media that we have broken families. Well, broken families in an American society simply means that you are being raised by a single parent. You don't have both parents in the home. And I oftentimes like to challenge that definition because just because you don't have what society says you should doesn't mean you're broken necessarily. It just means you're different. And today I invited my dad and my brother to have a conversation with me about how we were able to build family. Of course, our family wasn't a typical nuclear family. Ricky and I didn't grow up in the same house. He didn't grow up beating up boyfriend. Well, because I didn't have boyfriends because guys didn't like talk to me. But if they did, I'm sure my brother would have been right
They
there.
got it.
Right. And so, and today's conversation is about redeeming the past and moving forward in a future that is full of hope, full of love, and that brings your life joy. Just because you grew up in a way that other people said, made you less than or made you feel like you were left out or you didn't have the benefits that other people had because you didn't have the financial security that they had or having both parents in the home. That might be your experience. It was my experience, and Rick, I think you can kind of speak to that too.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that your whole life is counted out. It doesn't mean that you can't have quality relationships with your parent. And to that end, so that's why we have my daddy here. We didn't grow up with him in the house per se, but my dad was always, around. And of course, I would have loved to have a closer relationship with you growing up, but it didn't hamper what we have today. And so, and I think Ricky can kind of say the same. Like the relationship that we share with our father today, I wouldn't trade it for all the money in the world. And only God and your willingness to bring the best of who you are to a situation makes stuff like this possible. Right?
That's right.
I'd agree.
So let's get started. So Dad, you are the parent, you're the father of what, 5 amazing children. You had 6, right? And
Yes.
we lost an older brother some years ago. His name was Robert Kelly too. No, not Robert Kelly. That Robert Kelly. Our older brother name was Booby, and this was his first son. But now we have Ricky, and what's your other children?
Well, there's Rashida, Rashonda,
A little sister.
Rathia,
Mm-hmm.
Malika.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
that's it.
And me.
And
Well,
yeah, we already talked to you. And so, Dad, what was it like? Because I was born in the late 70s, and I think Ricky was born maybe early
72.
mid 72. What was it like being a father in the 70s?
It was like kind of strange. People might look at me and think I'm a baby boomer, but I grew up old school.
Okay.
My father was 19 years older than me,
Mm-hmm.
so we could have been older and younger brother in a picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up old school. Mama was in the house, daddy was in the house, mama cooked, and mama would tap that behind. And if she didn't tap it just right, she'd tell daddy, and he'd come on, and the discipline was there. And we all sat down at the table and ate together. And somewhere along the way, between say 10 years old and maybe 18, all that started changing. And I didn't know why it was changing. Mm-hmm. And only recently did I begin to understand it, but something along the way, something just wasn't right. I mean, my first marriage, my high school sweetheart, well, that kind of went out the window too. And, I still have a warm place in my heart for my ex-wife and my children. And I just remember somebody saying something to this effect. If all you got is lemons, then learn how to make lemonade. Mm-hmm. And, well, I just figured out a way to do that. I wanted all my children to know who they are. They don't even have to talk to each other. But I made it a point to make certain that they knew each other or knew about each other. And that was a starting point. And from there, well, things just developed on their own. This child would say something, and that child would say something, and then their mother would call, and life went on. But in each case, I just had to master the art of making lemonade rather than letting it be sour. Mm-hmm. And, well, I did the best I could at that. I would come around whenever I could, get them out, bring my children together, have them communicate, and maybe sit down and eat and have something to eat together. We all got my children. Every one of them got a different personality. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I had to learn this, but I didn't really have to learn it because if you look at my siblings, every one of us had a different personality. Mm-hmm. I feel sometimes cheated because I didn't get a chance to actually grow up in the house with my children, but actually, I think about that. It's not true because I've actually been in the home with my children and got to know them in detail. A few months ago, I just pulled out some old pictures, and there was a picture. And I always call that picture a moment of bonding. My daughter, Rashida, she's sitting there about so big and looking straight at me as if she's eating up every word that I'm saying. And I don't think she could even talk, but for me, that was a moment of bonding. And that same look is still there right now. Mm-hmm. So, well, just don't let it be lemonade. I mean, don't let it be a lemon. Let it be lemonade. Make the best of what you got.
Mm-hmm. So, and Ricky, because you're older than me, just a little. How was it growing up? Because, I kind of grew up in the 80s, but you grew up in the 70s. How was it growing up in the 70s, with Dad?
You see, well, I'm born in 72. So 73, I guess it was great.
It was.
74, I guess it was great. But no, growing up, you know what I'm saying, with my dad, man, I don't remember exactly what year it was, but I remember where I lived at. You know what I'm saying? I can remember my daddy coming over. I can't wait till my daddy come over. You know what I'm saying? When he came over, we would jump in the car. We'd go all the way out to Southwest Detroit to go see Lakey, our oldest sister, the oldest sister. And I couldn't wait to get out there to see Mama Shirley. I knew everybody was going to be there. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So them was the good days, because I knew my daddy was going to come around. No, he didn't live in the house with us, we lived wherever we lived, and, my mom was living the life or whatever we was doing. But now you say, I want to see my daddy, she'd be like, well, your daddy, call him. My daddy will come, you know what I'm saying? And that was the good life, man. I remember him getting me a red and white bike. You know what I'm saying? I remember him giving me a red and white bike and left it on the porch because whatever situation him and my mom was going through, my mama didn't want to see him, and I'm like, I ain't got nothing to do with that. I was young too, but he brought me a red and white bike with the little crystals, with the little glitter on the seat. I think it was a swing.
Whoa, glitter
I
for
think,
a boy?
Yeah, no, the swing bike.
Oh, okay.
The swings, the boy bikes.
The swing, so
Yeah,
if I bought it, probably
and,
was a swing.
Man, I drove that bike into the dirt. But growing up with my dad in, the 70s, early 80s, it was wonderful. Then was the years that he was there.
Okay.
And then there was the years that, he was there,
So with you, because pardon me by asking the question because I don't know, but you had a stepdad too, right?
Nah.
Okay.
No, I mean, my mother married, I don't believe in stepdads. I only got one dad in this world. That's this man right here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The greatest thing that ever happened to me was the fact that I knew where he was always take us. You know what I'm saying? I know where he was always take us when he got us. When we didn't go to the malls, we didn't go this, we didn't go that, but we for sure went out to Southwest Detroit.
Right. Yep.
So, throughout my life, it was like, dang, I'm going to find my daddy one day, but you know what I'm saying? I'm sure we'll get into that later. But it was like, Southwest Detroit was the place to find him at. You know what I'm saying? So I knew I had to go find him. You know what I'm saying?
And the reason why I brought that up was because, my mom, she never dated. My mother wasn't, my mom.
Yeah.
Nobody came past the front door. Even if she was dating somebody, that was as close as they were getting to me, was the front door, hello and goodbye.
That's right.
And so I didn't have the experience of having another male in my life. The only man was when I would come here to Detroit to visit daddy, or, when I would come up here and see my uncles and stuff. Yeah. So I wanted you to maybe kind of talk about your experience because your mom did date other people.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So how was that as a young man and then dealing with that with your own father?
Well, at one point in time, once I realized that my dad wasn't coming around, I said I wasn't going to see my dad, so I thought I wasn't going to see my daddy no more. You know what I'm saying? It's like everybody else was like, I got to find my daddy. But until I found my daddy, like I said, my mom had boyfriends. She had boyfriends. But I would never attach myself to him.
Sure.
Because you're not my dad. You're not going to tell me what to do. I respect you. My mother always taught us respect.
Yep.
So no matter what you think and how you feel about whatever, respect my house. So I always respected her male companions or friends or whatever, but I never got close to him, I never got close to him because I only had one dad. You know what I'm saying? I could be my own dad, you know what I'm saying? But I learned from older people. But I never had the need to have a father figure in my life. You know what I'm saying? Because my dad was my dad. When I found my dad, he'd be the father figure in my life. But, that's why I grew up so rough. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't have that father figure there. You know what I'm saying? Because I wanted just my dad. I didn't want nobody else.
We don't want substitutes.
Nah, no substitutes. And that's how it always has been with me,
So, Dad, when you kind of was talking about, just dealing with different relationships, romantic relationships, when they don't work out, that's always sad, but it's more complicated when children are involved, right?
Always.
And so, and I used to grow up with, and I said this all the time, my husband, he would laugh when I say it or chuckle, because I would say men always treat the kids of the woman he's in love with better. If the man loves that woman, he's gonna be good to her kids. And so I always kind of wondered, I was like, well, is dad not being around because him and mom didn't get along to the point where I'm just thrown away? Like, as a little kid, I used to think that. And so when I would come here to visit and you would just go over and beyond to make sure I knew and felt you loved me, you wanted me, whenever I would come to Michigan, you always make it a point to make me a priority and to feel loved. What would you say to young fathers today, or fathers who may find themselves in 2020 in a similar position? You have children with people that you don't necessarily love like that no more. Like, the relationship is over. It's never, ever, never going to be back together again. How can they? What are some things that they can do to make lemonade, as you say?
Make lemonade. Well, I guess part of that is understanding that the difference is about love. The difference is in love. I mean, love can be a wishy-washy, good, rosy feeling about the prettiest woman in class. Jackie Wilson, Reefer teach the finest thing I just got to talk to her. Well, that's good. That's all well and good.
Jackie
I mean,
Wilson is from 1950, Dad.
way back then. Hey, well, I
30s.
told you I'm not a baby
The
boomer.
30s.
I go back before that. But anyway, I learned from the older folk around me. I mean, the older folks, I watched people who had families, guys who worked themselves to death in factories, but came home every night.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they went home drunk as a skunk, and their wife would blow up on them. And that was a type of society I had to come into the world into. Now, I started in Memphis, and well, just growing up, like I said, I got a lot of that old school training in me. It's in me. We should always strive to be the best that we can be. And one of the priorities that I noticed about my dad is this. His children were always a priority with him.
Mm-hmm.
My granddad, his children was always a priority with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I would bet you I can go all the way back to ancient Africa and find out that the king's children were always a priority to them. And they are me. I mean, that's my extension. Without these people here in my life, and I cease to have a being. Mm-hmm. So it's a priority. And I would say this to all young men, whether you still have those rosy feelings toward the woman that you were with, those rosy, sexy feelings which would result in children, or not. Here's the thing. Whether you love the woman in that capacity or not, grow up. Love has other ramifications. This unconditional thing. You have to love the fact that you've been given children. You have to love the fact that they are your posterity. And remember that if you want the best for yourself, you've got to create the best for them. I've got children around me right now that every now and then they'll call me and ask me to do something.
Or give me some money.
But here's the thing. These two right here stand on their own 2 feet. And that's something my father taught me to do. And somehow or another, I managed to succeed in getting that across to them. And that is to all of my children. Mm-hmm. If the younger men today don't give their children that example, will not be able to stand on our own 2 feet in any case. Now, I'm saying younger men, but it takes two. I didn't live in the house with your mother or your mother after a certain while. But I made it a point to always be, whenever I could, available. And if not available, if it was only once a month, I made sure that I got these children together, and I didn't actually tell them how important they were, but I made sure they knew, well, I don't know if I made sure, I guess I did. The thing is, they are important to me. I just chose to be myself and let them be around me so that they would know it for themselves. In other words, if you don't go around your children, you're going to wind up singing, what was it? The guy said he couldn't, I forgot the name of the rapper. One of the big ones, I just couldn't cry for a stranger. Tupac. He said something about, he couldn't cry for a stranger when his father's funeral. And I don't want that. Now, I don't necessarily want you crying at my funeral. I want you to celebrate my life.
Right.
But I want you to go there with feelings of, well, that's my dad and I love him, and leave it at that. And I want your children, when you pass away, to be able to say, well, that's my dad and I love him, and that's that. Mm-hmm. If you don't establish that right now, in this situation, in the middle of this COVID-19 kind of situation with a president that doesn't know that whether he should give up or not give up the office, we're looking at things that, well, for me, it's the first for me. It's the first time to see some of these things. Mm-hmm. It's just, and they're all seemingly negative, and I don't intend to go religious, but I know that there's a creator that is in charge of all of this. And what he's put on my heart to do is to be the best that I can be. And being the best that I can be means that I've got to help my family be the best that they can be. And if I'm going to leave anything behind for younger people, that would be part of it.
Ricky, you want to add something to it?
Well, I say, man, and since we speak on this subject, you was my inspiration for years. Do you remember when I had got in trouble in school? No, I got ended up getting in trouble.
Time?
I ended up getting. You remember when I ended up getting the juvenile? They had me down in juvenile.
Oh yeah.
And I needed somebody to come get me, or they was gonna do whatever they was gonna do with me.
Oh yeah.
And I said, well, call my daddy. Mm-hmm. Now don't be mad, you. I ain't talked to my daddy in a long time because he been, MIA, right? So I think. I don't know where I found him or how I found him, but they found him. And he came walking down to the courts, and I seen him. I was like, whoa, that's my daddy. Now you think my daddy was Jim Kelly back in the day, the Bruce Lee man. That's what he married over the afro back in the day, right?
Yeah, daddy didn't cut his afro off.
Never. So when he came up there, he took me with him. He came down, they let me go with him. That's when I met you.
Yep.
That's when I met you. That's when I've been knew about you. I had pictures of everybody. But I say, dang, I got another sister. You know what I'm saying? Once I met you, I was like, oh yeah, this what's up. That's when I knew that you cared about me. You know what I'm saying? You hear stuff, mama say things about their kids to their kids about their fathers all the time. And you listen to them, a lot of kids remember that stuff and they start believing that stuff. Well, unfortunately, I wasn't the one to believe that. Only because you brought me that white bike, that red and white bike. I said, my daddy loved me. So, so you really was an inspiration to me, man. You know what I'm saying? Now, even though I still did bad, but you were still my inspiration to do better. You know what I'm saying? And it was that day you grabbed me up, was like, look, boy. I'm like, wow, my daddy real. He really real. This the first time.
He didn't call it to me.
Yeah, this the first time you ever chastised me in life. You know what I'm saying? It was at that point where I knew I had to change. Now, it didn't happen at that point. It took other things to occur in my life, you know what I'm saying, that I blame you not for, you know what I'm saying, because it was me. But you showed me you cared that day, that you really cared. You didn't throw me away. It was just at that particular moment in time frame, it wasn't right. But you showed me that you cared for me, and you didn't throw me away when you came down there and got me, because if you wouldn't have did it, I would have been thrown away to the system. You know what I'm saying? But he saved it.
So talk a little bit about that, because, you know, I know you can't go into a lot of, you know, fine detail about the work that you do.
Man. I mean,
but what you went through has made you the amazing man that you are today. So talk a little bit about what you've become. And do you think that what you experienced as a young person, and even with Dad, is the reason, or one of the reasons why you do the great work you do now?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest things, the reason why I do the work I do now. But we'll start with helping young men see beyond what the condition they're in right now. So as a young kid, like I said, my dad wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? But people make the excuse of saying, because my dad wasn't there, that's why I do this. That's only because people put that in their minds, that's why I did it, because my dad wasn't. I didn't have a father figure in the household. That's not true. My mother didn't really have nobody in the household. My past was like, I knew I had to do something better. It was like I knew I had to do something better. I didn't want to keep going through the same process that I was going through every year, getting in trouble, doing this, doing that. So I knew I had to change. So in the process of me changing, so now I teach young men, you know what I'm saying, don't stop saying because your daddy wasn't there that this is why you do this, because that's not the reason.
Right.
The reason is you just didn't do it. You know, you want to do something different. So now I'm teaching young men out here today, because of what I went through with my own dad, learning from our mistakes. I'm going to say our mistakes because it's not just his fault. You know what I'm saying? My mom, it was her fault too. She's not here, so I'm taking the blame for her. You know what I'm saying? But it was both of our faults. So now I'm teaching young men now that don't blame your dad, you know what I'm saying, for whatever purpose, whether he was a crackhead, drunk, or whatever he is. You can't blame him. You know what I'm saying? Fix it. You know, so I teach young men today, because of my past, how to fix it. I teach young men other ways to take care of, to do things in life versus doing things the bad way to get in trouble, to go to jail or go to prison, things of that nature.
Or to the grave.
Or to the grave. So we teaching people how to live. We teaching people how to live by doing the right things. And it comes from my past. Like I say, my past it wasn't squeaky clean. But from my past, like you said, sis, makes me the great person, the great man, the alpha man that I am today. If I wouldn't have went through it, then ain't no telling where I'd be right now. I wouldn't be sitting here,
Right.
you know, talking to my daddy and my little sister, you know what I'm saying, my brother. I wouldn't be doing that right now. But thank God that I was able to do that little upstate time and get life together. And it took me 8 years to get that life together. 2 years in solidarity, you know, by myself, you know what I'm saying, with nothing. Yeah, 2 years in the hole, nothing. You know, but it took that time for me to break myself down. I wasn't gonna let these people up here break me down. It's not their job to break me down. It's my dad and my mama's job. That's it. You know, but that didn't happen. Nobody could. So it's time for me to break myself down. And once I broke myself down, sis, I said, once I stand up and walk upright, fearless, independent, nothing would stop me. You know what I'm saying? Nothing would stop me, and it didn't.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember, you know, you spoke about your mom. My mom was the exact opposite.
Mm.
She never said one bad word about my father to me as a child. And she would not allow anybody to talk about my dad in a bad way in front of me. So I was able to create this whole imaginary version of who you were as a person because, we didn't, around that age, I was living in Texas. And so I had unrealistic expectations of the man that I would grow to meet when I got older. Like, because because you didn't live with us, all I had was what I saw on television of what ideal fathers were. Yeah. And I'm like, and so when I would come to Michigan, that's all I got because, we had to pack a lot of time and a little bit of a visit.
Yeah.
And so, when we actually moved here to Michigan, the reality was a little rough. And, and I remember, I don't know if you remember this, Daddy, when we were burying my grandma and I was pregnant with my youngest child. That day was hard for me. And you knew it was. I almost didn't go to the funeral because I'm one of those people. Like, if I love you a lot, it's hard for me to show up. And so Daddy, you had me in the car. You was right. You took me to the cemetery because I didn't want to, And that day, what you said to me was so beautiful. You remember what you said to me?
No.
Okay, I'll tell you.
He said no. He said no.
So, Daddy, you were saying, I know that today is hard for you. I know losing your grandmother because she was so special. And you affirmed me the first time in my entire life. And I didn't know I needed it. You was like, me and your mom gave you a name with meaning.
Oh, yes.
And he was like, and you was like, I am proud of the woman that you are. And I know that maybe it didn't have a whole lot to do with me, but I am so proud of who you become. And, losing my grandmother, that was one of the darkest days, but your words made that day easier. And so for you, and I was like, wait a minute, there's something here. There's a place, and I think when you're talking about rebuilding families, you can't rebuild families on a lie. You can't rebuild a family on what you wished would have happened, what the story, the glitz and glamour story you tell people. No, truth can only be built on truth.
Truth is one.
Yep. Yeah. And the fact that you was like, okay, I know in the past it didn't look ideal, but you still the bomb.
Today.
And so, it takes a big man to say that. It takes somebody that's what love does. Love doesn't shrink. Love only expands. It only grows. It only makes room for people. And so, and I thought today was important. And so, if we have any last words, I'll probably save my words for last, but if you could offer any words of encouragement to families, not just to young men, but to people in general. They have family members they're not talking to today. They ain't talked to in years because somebody fell out with somebody took some money, somebody got a habit they can't break and they stole from you. I'm not saying that you let people in and create risk,
right.
But there's a way to move beyond that to a place of healing, safe healing. And healing doesn't always mean I restore you in the same way and give you the same amount of access. That just means I restore you. You might not have access to this, but you have access to my love and my heart. And so would you, we go around the table and I'll end with my last thoughts. But what you got to say to hurting families, Dad? How can they make it better?
Well, let's forgiveness. My first wife and I. Oh boy, I'll just say it. I fell in love. I fell over heads over heels in love with the woman who beat up the bully in the class, and married her. It didn't occur to me until after I got on her last good nerve that she could also deal with me in the same way.
Was this Mama Shirley?
Mama Shirley didn't play.
Straight bulldog.
And I've always chosen strong-willed women. That reminds me that who Mama Kelly was.
Yes.
My mother. That woman was an expert at getting on my last good nerve whenever I got slick. And I thought I was fairly Well, she let me know I wasn't all that slick. But the thing is, when we broke up, that was a hurting thing, and that hurt inside had me not forgiving her or anybody that had ever done anything to me. And that unforgiveness inside me was killing me, and I came to realize it. I have got to forgive all these people around me that have done wrong to me, and I've got to forgive it not because it's going to benefit them, because once I get that poison out of my system, then I can begin to grow and begin to see life in a new way. So my advice would be to a hurting generation of men and women is learn to forgive the hurt around you, the people that have hurt you. Forgive it. Now, that doesn't mean that, like you said, you're going to bring them back into your lifestyle. Forgive and move on is oftentimes the way that you have to do. Get off and be in a position where you can be alone with, I'm going to use the term, your creator, and let him finish. Well, he's not finished with you as long as you got life in your body, but let your creator work with you and do in you that what he wants you to develop. You will grow. And I guess I'm beginning to see it here because I've got people around me telling me so. It actually works. So learn to forgive, and that way forgive yourself.
And I think that's the most powerful part. Like, you can forgive everybody, but forgiving yourself means admitting the truth about who you've been, what you are, and then accepting the truth about who you could be, seeing yourself the way God sees you.
Yeah.
All right, Rick?
Well, I'd say that's too. How do you start to heal? I would say the greatest thing of it all, and I really can't go behind what Dad said because that's like should have been the final word right there. So, but the one thing I could say that can heal any family or anybody is true divine love. Love feels different than anger do, or resentment or something like that. It feels different. How I know, because I had both of them. I had resentment, I had hate, you know what I'm saying? But when I taught myself how to love, I ain't talking about how like you love a dog or you might love a pair of shoes. I'm talking about loving yourself.
Yep.
And once I learned, the biggest thing you have to do to start healing a family, whether it's dad, mom, or whoever it is know thyself. You got to know thyself. If you know thyself, and you start healing from that point on, and then you will have to, once you know thyself and you deal with thyself, your higher self and your lower self, and then you go over and you can help anybody else do the same thing. A lot of times, families, black families, unquote, brown families, unquote, or families, period, unquote, they don't know how to, if he hate, y'all three gonna hate because this person here gonna hate because of y'all three hate. They say seeing that family member from Adi. It's like my mom. If I would have looked at my mom's eyes on how you were, I wouldn't be able to stand you. But who had time to hate? And let me tell you, I never hated you or why my daddy ain't there. I know why my daddy went there. You know why? Because I was raised with my mother. My mother raised me. So I know why my dad wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? They say don't make no excuses. Excuses are tools of the incompetent. Used to build monuments of nothingness. You know what I'm saying?
Who is that by?
That's a Groove 5 Groove statement.
Groove 5 Groove. That's a group? Like a music group?
No, it's an international fellowship association.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? But they have, and that's what it is, excuses. You know what I'm saying? So I try to get away from the excuses. You know, you take the excuses out and deal with the issue and heal, love. You know what I'm saying? And one more thing, and I give it to you, sis. In the process of healing and learning how to love, there's a saying that someone taught me back a long time ago. It's good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to borrow that one.
And this is the best. Besides my mother, I'm sorry, Pop, but my mama come first.
Well,
my mama was the best. I think all mothers are the best. Daddies always come second. But, you know what I'm saying? In this case right now, man, you the bomb. You know what I'm saying? You've been around how many years now? Too many.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Too
but
many.
Still not long enough.
I'm pushing 50. In 2 more years, I'll be 50.
Wow. Wow.
So, man, I'm letting the world know, man, you are the best, man. You R. Kelly, the original. No one is better than that, man.
Right.
You
Thank
played,
you.
you played you a musician. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You here now.
Thank you.
You know, you might not have been there before. It wasn't meant for you to be there. It wasn't important to me
Mhm.
for him to be there at that time. Now that I look back, it's more important that he's there now.
Wow. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Than back then. Because
Okay.
back then I really didn't need him because I knew the answers. So I thought.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I paid the consequence behind not knowing the answers. But at the end of the day, I need you more now than I needed you then. Because my mama had me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So to me, man, you rocking the best. And the best way to heal a family is to love and know thyself and always remember that good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. And that'll heal all families. You know?
Awesome.
Awesome.
And so I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. You know, we all know what we hear about, you know, what happens in families, whether it's, you know, incest or domestic violence, drug abuse, alcoholism, you name it. A lot of the issues that we face in our communities are the result of systemic poverty. And so give yourself and give your family, give your parents, give everybody grace. What does that mean? Don't hold them so with so much blame for the way things are, because the world we inherited was set up before we got here.
Yes,
That's
it
right.
was.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you coming into family situations where things might be messed up because, like my brother was talking about, you know, hate and pain, they are propagated. You know, for instance, you know, when there is a molester in the family and then he go and touch the little nephews, the little cousins, and then they grow up to touch the little nephews and the little that's because that's the way the devil works. That's the way darkness works. But love works that same way and even in greater supply. So you can always combat. I don't care how dark your family's history, how deep your pain, your personal pain is. Love is greater than all of that. Forgiveness will always make a way from where you are to where you need to be emotionally. And so what does forgiveness look like? Say you were molested. I have a lot of people that I talk to that's their reality.
Yeah.
And they stay stuck. They're 40, 50 years old, stuck because of what happened to them when they were 10. And I'm not minimizing what happened to you at 10. What happened to you at 10 was a seed that was planted by darkness that tries to propagate itself. It's like weeds, right? Weeds you have to stay on top of in your lawn. You might spray them weeds one year and then they'll come back because of the environment of life. And you got to come back and still keep checking for weeds, still keep your lawn safe. And so I'm not saying that you let Uncle Jimmy come around, even though you know he's a pedophile. All I'm saying is love Uncle Jimmy
From a distance.
And keep your baby safe. That's how you love your family, by protecting your family.
Amen.
And so, I just want to
amen.
encourage you. I just want to encourage you all. So these sidebar conversations are going to be just like what you heard today. We're going to be talking about when life doesn't go the way that you think it should, the way that you hope it would. How can you redeem your time and move forward in power? And you don't have to stay broken. You are greater than your past. Your past informs who you are, but it certainly is not a jail to who you can be unless you put the bars in front of your own mind and cut off your perception of greater. You can be greater. You can go greater places. You can do greater things. And I'm not saying greater in having more money and having more stuff or being surrounded with more people. Greater, what I mean when I say greater, you can go to bed at night and sleep peacefully. You can look in the mirror and love the person looking back at you. That's greater. When you can reconcile yourself and say, I have peace with who I am, that's greater. That's success. But I want to spend 2020, the rest of 2020 and in 2021, greater vision, greater love, greater hope, and building greater communities. We don't need people to come in and save us. We don't need superheroes. We just need the people who's alive here today to show up and be who God created us to be. That's how we save the world.
Oh, yes. Right.
Be who and don't allow yourself to be limited because of what you went through.
That's right.
Just like this guy right here, and then I'm gonna end with this. The reason why I'm sitting here today and I'm alive is because of this man right here. I mean, funny story.
That's the truth.
When my mother was pregnant with me, the story was told to me that they thought I was going to be severely retarded or something like that, where they were encouraging my mom to have a late stage abortion just because they thought that I wouldn't be a viable pregnancy, and if I was going to be alive, it was only I would be a vegetable. That's the story that was told.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of remember that.
Yeah. And so your mother
rejected. I wasn't hearing that.
Yeah. And so your mom, Grandma Kelly, and my grandmother, they pleaded with you and mom to keep me. And then a few weeks later, you found me in the crib. I was blue. I had stopped breathing. And my dad saved my life. He performed pediatric CPR and saved me. So you can see this girl here because of this guy here. Hey. And so all that to say, now, life did what life does, but I'm here because of him. And whatever God has for you, when it's really, really love, what's meant for you will always return back to you.
It would be.
And so even like the love of his children, us loving him is God's promise to him. It went out for a while, but it's coming back. And that's what I pray for you. That's what I hope for you, that the love that you are willing, don't match bad energy. I know people are saying that you keep that same energy. That's flawed logic. Don't live by that. Don't match people's energy, because people are broken sometimes, and so the energy they give off is broken. You don't need to match that. You be better than that. You be bigger than that. Let God show you the appropriate energy to bring to a situation, so that you can heal situations, so that you can be a conduit of healing and love. And so, yeah, I want you to take time. It's a family member you ain't talked to. You're boycotting them. You're ignoring them, their calls, their texts. Every time you see their name on Facebook, you roll your eyes. I want you to stop that foolishness, right? Let God show you how to be a reconciler. Go to them. You may not have all the words, but I love you might just be all you can muster. Maybe that's all you need, but just be open. Be open to moving beyond the pain. And until next time, I love you, and peace.
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 Okay, you got to throw it up.
Oh, peace. Oh, peace.
Put them together, yeah. Put them together, two represent like that.
Oh,
bam.
Peace.
Put them together, yeah. You got
right.
Two separation. You can't want separate.
Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassions, they fail not. And as thou hast been, thou forever wilt be. Thy faithfulness, mercies are new every morning. Thy faithfulness, oh Lord, to me. Great is thy faithfulness, they're new every morning. Every morning. Great is thy faithfulness, oh Lord, to me. Summer and winter, springtime and harvest, the sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, join with all nature in manifold witness to thy great faithfulness, mercy, and love. They new every morning. Thy faithfulness, oh Lord, to me. Great is thy faithfulness to me. Mercies are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. say great is your faithfulness? Can you say great is thy faithfulness? See, when I wake up in the morning, it's his faithfulness. And when I lay down at night, it's his faithfulness. He's been better to me than I could be to myself. Great is your faithfulness. Is your faithfulness. Great 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 is your faithfulness. God, you've been so good. And you've been so kind. It's your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. God, you've been so good. God, you've been so great. Your love and kindness and your tender mercy is better than life to me, to me, to me. Great is your faithfulness, morning by morning. Brand new mercies I see, brand new mercies for me. It's your great is your faithfulness, great is your kindness. Oh, so great is your love. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness to me.